The morning rain had just stopped when Ethan Carter walked through the revolving doors of Kingston Technologies with a cup of cheap coffee in one hand and his laptop bag in the other. He looked like any other employee, simple blue shirt, worn shoes, tired eyes. But behind those tired eyes was a man who hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night in nearly 5 years. Ever since his wife, Lily, passed away after a sudden illness, Ethan had been raising his daughter Emma alone. Every morning followed the same routine. Wake up at 5:30. Cook breakfast. Pack Emma's lunch. Walk her to the school bus. Rush to work. He never complained. His coworkers admired him because no matter how difficult life became, Ethan always smiled. "You never seem stressed," his friend Daniel joked as they entered the office. Ethan laughed softly. "I just don't have time to be." Daniel shook his head. "One day life will reward you." Ethan wasn't so sure. The company had changed dramatically over the past year. Its founder had retired due to health problems, leaving daily operations to the newly appointed CEO, Victoria Blake. Victoria believed one thing above everything else: profit, deadlines, results. People came last. She often reminded managers during meetings. If someone can't keep up, replace them. Talent is everywhere. Employee morale dropped quickly. Longtime workers resigned. Others stayed because they needed the paycheck. Ethan was one of them. Emma depended on him. Quitting wasn't an option. That morning an emergency executive meeting was announced. Everyone gathered inside the conference room. Victoria entered wearing a designer suit, expensive watch, and an expression colder than the office air conditioning. She placed several files on the table. "Our quarterly numbers," she said without greeting anyone. "They're unacceptable." Silence filled the room. Department heads exchanged nervous looks. Victoria continued. "Someone must take responsibility." The finance director attempted to explain. The market slowed unexpectedly. "I don't care." The operations manager added. Several suppliers delayed shipments. Excuses. Then her eyes landed on Ethan. "You." He looked surprised. "Me? You supervised the integration project." "Yes, but it finished ahead of schedule. The client still requested revisions. They requested additional features after approval." Victoria crossed her arms. "So you're blaming the client?" "No, ma'am." "Then who?" Ethan remained calm. "I'm simply explaining what happened." She leaned closer. "I didn't ask for explanations." Everyone could feel the tension. Daniel wanted to speak but knew interrupting would only make things worse. Victoria suddenly smiled. The kind of smile that made everyone uncomfortable. "I've decided to make an example." The room froze. "Ethan Carter." She paused dramatically. "You're fired." No warning. No investigation. No discussion. Just 3 words. Several employees gasped. One manager whispered, "This isn't fair." Victoria ignored him. "Security will escort you out." Ethan looked around the room. No anger. No shouting. No begging. He simply nodded. "If that's your decision." Victoria seemed almost disappointed. She expected an argument. Instead, Ethan quietly packed his notebook. Daniel stood up. "You can't do this." Victoria glared. "Would you like to join him?" Daniel slowly sat down. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on his friend's shoulder. "It's okay." He walked toward the elevator while dozens of employees watched helplessly. The security guard, Marcus, sighed. "I'm sorry, Ethan. No need to apologize. You've always treated everyone here with respect." Ethan smiled. "Take care of yourself." Outside the building he sat on a bench overlooking the city. For the first time in years, uncertainty hit him. Bills, mortgage, Emma's school fees, groceries. Everything depended on his income. He closed his eyes. His phone buzzed. A message from Emma. "Dad, don't forget today's school art show. Love you." A small smile appeared on his face. No matter what happened, he had to stay strong. He looked through his contacts. There was one number he had never used. Not because he couldn't. Because he promised himself he never would unless absolutely necessary. Years ago, before joining Kingston Technologies, Ethan had helped someone during the lowest point of that person's career. The favor had never been forgotten. He stared at the contact for several seconds. Finally, he pressed call. The phone rang once. A calm voice answered immediately. "Ethan, it's me. I was wondering when you'd finally call. I need a favor." There was no hesitation. "Tell me." "I've just been fired." Silence. Then the voice asked one question. Was it justified? No. Another brief silence followed. I understand. Can you come? I'm already leaving. The call lasted less than a minute. Ethan thanked the person and ended it. He returned to watching the busy streets. Inside Kingston Technologies, Victoria celebrated. She believed removing Ethan showed strength. Managers reluctantly congratulated her. One assistant entered the conference room. Ma'am, what? The board of directors just informed us they'll be making an unexpected visit. Victoria smiled confidently. Perfect timing. She adjusted her jacket. They'll see decisive leadership. 5 minutes later, 3 black luxury vehicles stopped outside company headquarters. Employees rushed toward the windows. Who is that? Why are there so many board members here? The chairman is with them. Even Victoria looked surprised. She hurried downstairs to greet the visitors. As the front doors opened, every employee fell silent. The chairman walked in first. Behind him were several board members. And walking calmly beside them was Ethan Carter. The entire lobby froze. Victoria's confident smile disappeared. What is going on? The chairman didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned toward Ethan with genuine respect. Mr. Carter, thank you for coming so quickly. Employees looked at one another in complete disbelief. Victoria frowned. Mr. Chairman, why are you speaking to a former employee like that? The chairman slowly faced her. His expression became serious. Former employee. Yes, I terminated him this morning. The chairman took a deep breath. Then he spoke words that would change everything. I think you've made the biggest mistake of your career. Victoria's face turned pale. The lobby became so quiet that even the ticking wall clock could be heard. No one knew what was about to happen next. But everyone could feel one thing. The balance of power had just shifted. The lobby remained completely silent. Every employee stared at Ethan. Just minutes earlier, security had escorted him out of the building. Now he stood beside the chairman of the board as though he belonged there. Victoria Blake forced a nervous smile. Mr. Chairman, I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding. There has, the chairman replied calmly. A very serious one. He turned toward the employees. Everyone, please gather in the conference room. Within minutes, department heads, managers, and staff filled the room. No one spoke. The chairman stood at the front with the other board members while Ethan quietly took a seat near the back. Victoria remained standing, still trying to understand what was happening. Finally, the chairman broke the silence. Before we begin, I want to introduce someone properly. He looked at Ethan. Most of you know him as Ethan Carter, a senior project manager. Several employees nodded. What you don't know, the chairman continued, is that 6 years ago, when this company was on the verge of bankruptcy, one young consultant created the recovery strategy that saved Kingston Technologies. The room filled with whispers. The chairman smiled. That consultant was Ethan. Daniel's eyes widened. You never told us. Ethan smiled modestly. There wasn't any reason to. The chairman continued. At the time, Ethan refused a senior executive position because his wife had become seriously ill. He chose his family over a prestigious career. Many employees lowered their heads. They had always respected Ethan. Now they admired him even more. When Mrs. Carter passed away, the chairman said gently, Ethan asked for only one thing. He looked toward Ethan. You wanted an ordinary position where no one would treat you differently. Ethan nodded. I wanted to earn my place like everyone else. The chairman smiled proudly. And that's exactly what you did. Victoria interrupted. Even if that's true, I still had the authority to terminate an employee. You had the authority, the chairman answered firmly, but not the wisdom. She frowned. Our company is built on values, not fear. One board member opened a folder. Mrs. Blake, over the past 12 months employee resignations have increased by 42%. Another added, customer satisfaction has fallen. A third continued. 3 major clients specifically mentioned poor leadership culture. Victoria looked shocked. Those reports weren't finalized. They were, replied another director. You simply ignored them. The room was silent again. The chairman slowly walked toward Ethan. This morning, after being fired without cause, Ethan called me. Victoria's face turned pale. You know each other personally. The chairman smiled. I've known Ethan for years. He placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. When my own son was seriously injured in a car accident, I couldn't leave an important investor meeting. The chairman paused. Ethan drove my son to the hospital himself and stayed there all night until my family arrived. The employees exchanged emotional glances. He never asked for recognition. He never even mentioned it, the chairman continued. I've spent years trying to repay that kindness. Ethan quietly replied, you never owed me anything. The chairman smiled. Kindness always deserves to be remembered. Victoria realized the situation was slipping away. She quickly said, if my decision appeared harsh, I can reverse it immediately. No, the chairman answered. You no longer have that authority. She stared at him. What do you mean? The chairman looked toward the board members. This morning, before arriving here, the board held an emergency vote. One director slid an envelope across the conference table. Victoria slowly opened it. As she read the first sentence, the color drained from her face. Effective immediately. Her hands trembled. Your employment as chief executive officer has been terminated. No one spoke. Victoria looked around the room. The employees she had intimidated for months simply watched in silence. There was no applause, no celebration, only relief. Security entered the room. The same guards who had escorted Ethan out earlier now stood beside Victoria. One of them spoke respectfully. Ma'am, we'll help you collect your belongings. Victoria looked at Ethan. I suppose you're happy now. Ethan shook his head. No. She looked confused. I never wanted anyone to lose their job. Then why call the chairman? Because injustice shouldn't be ignored. His voice remained calm. You didn't fire me because I failed. You fired me to make yourself look powerful. Those words echoed through the room. Victoria lowered her eyes. For the first time, she had no answer. After she left, the atmosphere changed completely. The chairman addressed everyone. I know today has been difficult. He smiled warmly. But today is also a new beginning. He turned toward Ethan. I have one final request. Ethan raised an eyebrow. What is it? Will you accept the position of chief operating officer and help rebuild this company? The room immediately filled with applause. Daniel grinned from ear to ear. You deserve it. Ethan looked thoughtful. He remembered Emma's art show. He remembered the evenings he promised to spend with her. Finally, he smiled. All accept. Everyone cheered. On one condition. The chairman laughed. I knew there would be one. I leave the office every day at 5 o'clock. The room became quiet again. I never want my daughter wondering whether work matters more than she does. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the chairman extended his hand. Agreed. Family comes first. The employees burst into applause once more. Over the following months, Kingston Technologies changed dramatically. Overtime became voluntary. Managers received leadership training. Employees were encouraged to share ideas without fear. Productivity rose. Customers returned. The company achieved its best financial results in years. But Ethan's greatest success wasn't found in quarterly reports. One evening, he arrived at Emma's school just as her art exhibition opened. She ran into his arms with a huge smile. You came. I promised I would. She proudly handed him a colorful drawing. At the top, she had written, My hero. Ethan smiled through tears. He realized that titles, promotions, and success could disappear overnight. But being the father his daughter believed in, that was the greatest achievement of all. Sometimes, one phone call can change a career. But kindness, integrity, and love can change an entire life.